In my last video, you saw me time myself making this blanket. It took me nearly 27 hours, and in today's video, I'm going to try and make a blanket which is exactly the same size in under 24 hours. Now, it's definitely going to be a challenge to shave off 3 hours from that time, but one thing I do want to make clear is that I don't mean 24 consecutive hours, I just mean 24 hours total. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set a timer for 24 hours. Every time I start crocheting, I'll start the timer. Every time I stop crocheting, I'll stop the timer. And I'm not including weaving in ends and blocking within that time, I just mean the crocheting. As I said, this blanket is going to be the same size as the previous one, but it's obviously going to be a completely different colourwork design, and I'm also using a different yarn this time around. I'm hoping that the colourwork is slightly more simple than the previous design, but I'm not sure that it actually is. One thing I will say is I'm using less colours, so that might make it a little bit easier. I'm using 3 colours as opposed to the previous 6. And the yarn that I'm using is Universal Deluxe Worsted. I've got Sangria, Starfish, and Pulp. Now, because I'm using a different yarn, that means I do need to do my gauge swatch and all my calculations to figure out how many stitches and how many rows I'm going to be doing. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now, and I will check in with you when I've done that. Yesterday I made 2 gauge swatches. The first one was in single crochet, and the gauge ended up being about 14 stitches to 18 rows. And when I did all the calculations to figure out how big I needed to make the blanket, it would have ended up being, I think, about 275 rows, which is a lot more than the previous blanket, and I'm trying to work quicker than I did in the last video, so I scrapped that idea immediately and I switched to half double crochet. And the gauge ended up being 14 stitches to 10 rows, which is much better because the final blanket is going to be 175 stitches to 150 rows, which is 10 stitches more than the previous blanket, but it's about 50 rows less, which is just great. I'm pretty much ready to start crocheting now, but I know I haven't shown the design that I'm working on yet, so I'm going to do that now. It is this one here, and it's actually going to be worked this way around, so we're going to start at the bottom here and work upwards. And you can sort of see what I was talking about, where there are big chunks of minimal colour work. So this portion at the bottom here and at the top here, hoping I can speed through those quite quickly. But I am pretty much ready to start crocheting now, so I'm going to go and fill up my coffee and get started. Just finished the first row of the blanket. It took me pretty much exactly 15 minutes, which it is a lot, but I tend to find the first row to be quite fiddly. It does take me longer. It's not going to take me 15 minutes to do every single row. The first 13 rows of this pattern are just all in this one colour, so I should be able to get through them quite quickly, but I'm going to update you later on. I've just finished row 17 of the blanket. We're a little bit under 22 hours. I'm not going to think too much on whether that's a good time or not. I could work out whether I'm on track to finish, but I'm not going to. There's not a whole lot to show at the moment because this is just the sort of plain portion of the blanket, but the next row is where we start the rabbit. That's going to be a little bit more interesting to show you tomorrow, but I'm going to leave it here today and check in with you tomorrow. I've been working on and off on the blanket all morning. I've just finished row 30 and I'm pretty much exactly at 20 hours, as you can see here. Everything's going really, really well. I don't really have anything particularly exciting to show because it's just the rabbit's foot at the moment. In a few rows, I'm going to be starting the moon. Hopefully, I'll be able to get in about another hour of crocheting this afternoon. I've got a few things to do. I've got to pop out. I've got to take this little guy to the post office and a few other things. But then tomorrow I'll be getting to sort of the more complicated colour work and that'll be a little bit more interesting to show you. So I will see you tomorrow. It's now day 3 of crocheting this blanket. I've just finished my first row of the day, which is the row you can see me working on here. And I have to say I had an absolute nightmare with this row. I don't know why it was causing me so many problems, but I had to frog it about 3 times and rework it. At one point I had to stop recording, press pause on the timer and just sit and figure out what was going on because the stitches weren't adding up. And for a little while I actually thought I was going to have to frog everything I did yesterday. I thought I'd started the rabbit in the wrong place. Luckily that wasn't the case. I eventually figured out what I was doing wrong and eventually finished the row. It took me far longer than it should have. Because of all the problems I've had just on this first row, I'm actually going to step away from this blanket for an hour or so. I'm going to go and take the dog out and hopefully when I come back things will go a little bit more smoothly for me and I won't have as many issues. So it's now Friday afternoon. I've been working on this blanket most of the morning and I've just finished row 63. I'm just sort of got a few more rows of these leaves to do. I'm really happy with how they're turning out. I've spent ages fiddling with the chart because I couldn't quite decide how they should look, but I think they're turning out really nicely. And everything's been going really smoothly after yesterday's awful start, thankfully. As you can see, we're sort of nearing the halfway mark on the timer, getting closer to 12 hours. And we're also getting quite close to the halfway mark on the chart as well. I don't think I'll be doing any crocheting over the weekend because we have a lot to do, but maybe on Monday I'll hit that halfway point and I will update you then. So it's now Monday. I've been working on the blanket for most of the day and made quite a bit of progress. I didn't get anything done over the weekend because we were at markets and there was no way I was going to take this blanket with all of this yarn attached. It would have been an absolute nightmare. But I did take a smaller project with me so that I could get some crocheting done. But yeah, I've finished the leg of the rabbit and I've also finished this leaf pattern, and I'm glad to have that done and out of the way because all those color changes were starting to get really fiddly. We're also almost at the 12-hour mark, which is quite exciting. That's halfway through the time limit that I've set myself. And the good news is that I'm pretty much halfway through the chart as well. So it kind of seems like I'm on track to finish within the 24 hours. It's probably going to be quite close by the looks of things. But yeah, I'm going to keep working on the blanket over the next few days. I'll probably update you again when I've finished the 3 flowers on the body. I think that'll probably be around Wednesday. So I'll see you then. So I know I said I'd update you in a couple of days. It's actually been a little bit over a week. I've not been finding the time to sit down and work on the blanket, but I have finished the flowers. I'll show you that now. I don't know how well you can see that. It's getting to the point where it's kind of difficult to show you anything, but you've got the flowers down here, the ears up here, and I'm about to start working on the head. I'm very glad to have the flowers done. They were a bit of a pain, but everything from here on forward should be really straightforward. As you can see, I am on this row here. And yeah, the head and the front leg should be really easy. Should be able to speed through that. But yeah, I'm going to be working on it quite a bit today. Hopefully I don't have much else to do. And I will update you when the head's done. I won't say that that'll be in a couple of days because who knows, but I will see you then. I've just finished the rabbit's head, and it's only the following day, so it hasn't taken me a whole week to complete a few rows like it did last time. And it's felt like it's really sped by, but that's not really surprising considering, you know, this section, I think I've started here, was it yesterday? You know, this is quite simple colour work compared to these rows here, which were really difficult. And then I've only got sort of 15 rows left, I guess, and that's just of the front leg, so that's going to absolutely speed by. I'll definitely have that done tomorrow. And then I don't know how many rows there was after the colour work. I think it's maybe 20 to 30, so I could have the blanket done by, if it's Wednesday today, yeah, it could be done by Friday. I'm really looking forward to being able to like lay this out and really look at it, because other than what I've shown you in videos, I haven't actually laid this out and had a proper look at it, so I'm really looking forward to that. But I will, or maybe I'll do that tomorrow when I finish the front leg, I don't know, we'll see. But yeah, I'll see you tomorrow when I finish the rabbit. Just finished the rabbit, really happy with it. I keep calling it a rabbit, but actually in the pattern I've been calling it a hare. Not sure what I'm going to go with. Let me know whether you think it's a rabbit or a hare. But yeah, 3.5 hours left to go, and it's 17 rows I checked. I think I'm going to be done with plenty of time to spare, which is really surprising. I actually thought it was going to be, well, I actually didn't know if I was going to, you know, complete it within the 24 hours. I mean, I haven't yet, but I'd be very surprised if it took me 3.5 hours to do 17 rows. But I definitely thought it was going to be a lot closer than this. Now that I'm done with the colour work, apart from the border, which is, you know, really simple, I don't have as many balls of yarn attached, so I'm actually going to head downstairs. I like to stay at the desk when I've got lots of yarn attached, just because it's easier to keep it organised and stop tangles. But now that I've only got, I think, a few balls of yarn attached, I'm going to go downstairs where it's a little bit more comfortable, and just a change of scenery because I'm bored of being up here. I just set up the camera, went upstairs to go and get the blanket. I come back and look who's in the way. It's my spot. Oh, it's my spot. Yes. Yes, it is. Come on. Here we are, all finished. I ended up completing the blanket with 1 hour and 26 minutes left on the timer, which is kind of crazy. I definitely thought it was going to be, well, I really wasn't sure I was going to finish it in the time at all, but I definitely thought it'd be closer. That's quite a bit of time to spare. But I am really happy with how this blanket's turned out. If I'm being completely honest, when I finished the colour work for the head, I kind of looked at it and thought that maybe the rabbit looked a bit that maybe the hair looked a bit squashed, and maybe my gauge was a bit wrong. I don't know, but no, after I blocked it, it all looked fine. I'm just over the moon, over the moon with how this blanket's turned out. This will of course be a pattern that I release in the future, but before we get to that I will need some pattern testers, so if you're watching this video right after it's published, make sure you check the description. I will pop a link to a sign-up form if you are interested in being a tester. You don't have to use the same yarn that I've used if you are a pattern tester, but if you do want to use the same yarn, Universal Yarns have very kindly provided a discount code. I think it's 10%, but just double check the sign-up form. I will have all the details in there. I absolutely love the testing phase. I really enjoy seeing all of the colour combos that people come up with. I for sure want to see this blanket in like dark green colours. I think that would look really good. But let me know in the comments, what colour would you make this blanket? Also let me know, did you think at the start of this video that I would be done in under 24 hours? I'm really interested to know what you thought. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video and I will see you in the next one.